Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hey everyone, it's Jory Rose, and happy 2021. We made it, you guys. Now we can officially say that hindsight is 2020. And wow, what a year it was. And I'm so glad that you tuned in today's episode, because we are going to be talking about how to set intentions for the upcoming year, why it's important, why it matters, and most importantly, how to go about doing it in a way that can create long-term, lasting positive change in your life, rather than creating big, lofty goals that you're not going to be able to meet and then feel bad about yourself for later on. And in addition to the tools I'm going to be talking about today, I know you've heard me mention, but practicing daily gratitude is a great, phenomenal practice for you to really hone in on what's important to you so you can dwell in the good and look for the good. And the more you do that, the more good you see. It shifts the lens through which you see the world. So please check out my new book, A Year of Gratitude, now available for pre-order. Check out the link in the show notes. It goes on sale officially January 19th, but you can pre-order your copy now. And it is such a valuable piece of what I'm going to be talking about in today's episode for you to really create the conscious life you want to be living. And gratitude is a fundamental piece of that. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Happy New Year. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hey, everyone, and welcome to the first podcast of 2021. Yay, you guys, we made it. I'm so happy that you are here to journey forward with me. And my goodness, I think you all should give yourself a pat on the back for having gotten through the year 2020. What an unexpected, twisting, turning, wild ride that all was. And while we still don't know what the future holds, we do know with certainty and confidence that you are able to get through hard things. Because if you think back to the beginning of 2020, when we were all so excited and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for this new decade to begin, for possibility, it's so interesting to how quickly those expectations, that possibility, began to unravel as the unexpected occurred. And I really believe that 2020 was all about having a big reset. And you heard me say this at the beginning of the pandemic, if you've been listening to all my episodes. But I really believe that the year 2020 was about getting us honed in on who we are, what's most important, and how do we want to be living our lives? There's been so much what people have been talking about, when life goes back to normal, when it goes back to normal. And first of all, I'm not certain there's a normal for it to go back to. But most importantly, I'm not so certain that it's a normal you want to go back to. Because when I think about life pre-2020, it was really busy. And I felt like I was always just chasing my tail, running from one thing to the next. And my goodness, I have loved the opportunity to be still. In fact, it's kind of interesting. I have different sets of angel cards that I pull, or different intentions. And one of my favorite sets that I have, it's a little metal tchotchke. I guess I don't know what else to call it, but a tchotchke. I hope you guys all know what a tchotchke is. And it has the word be. And then there's like a little slit where you pull a card and you put the card in the slit. So it says be whatever it is that you pull. Well, right before the pandemic hit, I pulled a card and it was still. And I have to say, what an amazing intention that set for me. And I still have that card on my desk where it says be still, because I think for me, that was one of the biggest reminders I needed, was to truly slow down and be still and not feel like I had to always be doing something next, what was next. Because I had spent so much of my life just chasing what was next and chasing what was next. And when you have the ability to be able to understand that you have options and you have choices, and it's not just life's trajectory, That's truly what mindful living is. And I think it took a worldwide pandemic for so many of us to realize, how do I want to be living my life? Which, ultimately is what Journey Forward is all about. To journey forward means to get unstuck from whatever it is that's not working for you and consciously choosing how to live your life moving forward. And how you're stuck might be kind of small, it might be kind of big, it might be areas of being stuck in your thoughts, your emotions, in an unhappy situation like a job or a relationship that you don't know how to get out of. Maybe it's just how you identify with yourself and how you hold on to old aspects or old stories that don't ring true to you anymore. Maybe it's just simply how you flow through your day, prioritizing self-care versus busyness, or in whatever area you're stuck. I invite you, as we're now listening at the first episode of 2021, to truly let this be an opportunity to practice awareness and conscious living. Because life will get back to more semblance of normal. And as we do, I invite you to engage in whatever outside world you're going to be engaging in once that normalcy comes back into our world. Just do so consciously, doing so with awareness, asking yourself, this is what I used to do, and let me pause and consider for a moment if it's something I still want to be doing. Is it serving me? Is it keeping me in alignment, mind, body, and spirit? And if it's not serving you, then having the courage to not having to jump back into old patterns. So I want to talk about the common thing that so many people get caught up in this time of year is setting New Year's resolutions. And I'm going to call bullshit on New Year's resolutions. Aside from the statistics that are really small, I should have pulled up the current stats on this before I started recording, so I apologize, but it's like 13%, if that. I mean, it's a really, really, really small amount of people who actually stick to their New Year's resolutions. So I'm going to remind you, don't even start, don't bother. I'm giving you permission to not set any New Year's resolutions. However, here's the thing. I don't believe you need a certain day on the calendar for you to decide to make change in your life. So I'm all for setting goals for yourself. I'm all for letting go of things that aren't serving you. I'm all for setting intentions for how you want to be living. And it does not have to occur just because it's the new year. So if at any point you decide today's the day, I'm going to start creating some new habits, great. Let that occur more organically and not feeling any pressure that you have to start something now. But here's what I want to talk about. I used to get into a playful argument with my ex-husband around the difference between goals and intentions. And I do not like the word goals because to me, it has a negative connotation if we don't end up meeting it, that we can instantly feel like I failed. I didn't meet that goal that I set for myself. The other thing I don't like about saying the word goal is that it puts the focus on some future point in time, whereas an intention keeps you really present. It keeps you conscious and aware of your moment-to-moment actions right here and right now. That's going to impact the long term. But if we allow for our happiness or our sense of success or our sense of pride in ourselves or our accomplishments to only be focused on a future point in time, then automatically we're no longer being present. Our intentions keep us very mindful of our moment-to-moment actions. Here's the other thing that I don't like about setting specific goals. There's very little margin for you to be able to easily feel like you can change them along the way. I think so often we set ourselves a goal that perhaps may or may not be a realistic goal given who and what we are, what our resources are, what our actual availability is. You know, it's the kind of goal where we're expecting like a 90% shift in our behaviors. And that's too big. And so when we set these really big goals for ourselves, we don't easily give ourselves the opportunity to change the mark along the way, to really meet ourselves where we're at. Now, I'm not suggesting to overly give yourself permission for not taking steps forward. I'm still thinking we need accountability and agency and action. However, if you've set a goal for yourself that as you start along the path, recognize is not the right goal for you, oftentimes people will see that as a failure. They'll feel bad about themselves. Their inner critic's going to act up and they'll say, I didn't meet my goal. I suck. How come others are able to do it easier than me? What's wrong with me? I might as well just not even try to attempt any change in my life. I want to let that story go because I actually believe it's not at all failure. It's not at all sucking. In fact, if you change a goal, I actually am going to offer to you that I think it is an incredible amount of self-awareness and deep wisdom to recognize what is not working for you and the courage to realign your path and to reset your vision. I hope that this resonates with you because if you are unable to meet yourself where you're at along the way, you are not going to have an easy time achieving the things that you're wanting to bring into your life. So I want to invite for you to consider, if you're feeling the need because it's January, and the day you're listening to this, the day this episode dropped is January 4th. So if you're feeling the need because it's the first week of January, to set some intentions for how you'd like to be, how you want to show up, your habits that you want to cultivate in the upcoming year, rather than making a list of like 10 things you want to work on, just start with one. Because taking on too much can automatically overwhelm us. And the more overwhelmed we are, the less likely we are to achieve all of those things. So really, I think the key here is to be realistic in what you're wanting to create change for. Don't focus on 10 things you want to get done in the month or the year. Start with just one. When you master that one, then say, okay, I've been able to meditate for 2 minutes today, and I've done that for 5 days in a row. I feel like I'm able to cultivate this into my life and into my routine. All right, what's the next thing I'd like to work on? Because just like our brain not being able to multitask, right? We can only function where we can focus on one thing at a time. I believe that our energy is the same thing. If our energy is spread so thin across all these things we want to get done, we kind of just spin our wheels and we don't move very far forward. And that's not what I want to have you guys be feeling stuck in this year. So rather than assuming the 90% shift is what you need to create change, start small. As you've heard me say before, even a 1% shift over time is going to grow, putting you on a different trajectory. So that's the first thing I wanted to cover is how to set a realistic intention to let go of the idea of a goal and giving yourself the compassion and the permission to check in with yourself along the way to say, is this the right goal for me? Is this realistic? Can I honestly achieve this? And if it's not, let it go without shame and come back to your intentions to be able to set something a little bit more realistic. So research actually says that one of the best ways to create long-term lasting change is to focus on your values. So I have in the show notes a link for you to download a list of 100 words that you can be able to start to do some values work to understand what your core values are. Because understanding your core values and what drives you is an opportunity to see what's most important. And if you are operating from those core values, rather than judgments of what you think you should be doing, staying in touch with those core values as that guiding light or that northern star, helping you step forward on your path, keeping you connected to your intentions, will help you achieve whatever it is you're working towards. So if you go and you download the link to that list of 100 words, here's the instruction. Start off by circling the words that speak to you. So values can be things both that we already enact in our everyday lives. And values can also be something that we're working towards, something that we'd like to bring more of into our life. It's okay. And it's still a value of yours, even if you don't have it fully achieved or mastered or integrated. So go through this list and circle about 20 words that jump out at you. Things that speak to you, things that you are in alignment with, things that you, again, already have accomplished or in your life and integrated, or things that you really want to bring more of in. Take that list of 20 words and see if you can start grouping it into some categories. And see if you can narrow the categories into some umbrella terms so you can begin to see themes of what is most important to you. So, for example, I have a big value in authenticity, and that would be one of my umbrella terms. And underneath my authenticity value is where relationships is going to show up, because I really value being authentic in how I show up with others. And here's a key. If this is a difficult practice for you, one other way that you can be able to understand your values is looking at areas of conflict in your life. Because anytime that you are experiencing conflict, whether it's big injustices in the world, whether it's small transgressions with somebody else, whether it's your own inner critic, whenever there's conflict, at the root of it is a conflict in your values. So if you are struggling with what you saw, let's say, going on politically in our country in 2020, whatever side of the line that you're on, you are frustrated because you saw people acting out in such a way that was outside of your own value set. That whole idea of how can someone think that? Well, it's because they got a different value than you. If you constantly get engaged in, arguments with your partner, and at the core of those arguments is going to be a conflict in your values. What is driving you each that is most important that you're really fighting for? So, whether it's even a value of clear communication, a value of feeling validated or understood or being seen, or a value of speaking your truth, right? So difficult conversations often highlight our values because those are the things that's making it hard. So whether you go through this list and you begin to narrow them down into umbrella categories, or you start to see the areas in your life in which you most struggle, or you can even look at people in your life that are difficult for you and what are the qualities that they possess that piss you off, and then look at the flip side of that, because the opposite of what pisses you off is your value. And that's why you get so fired up about it, because it's your value to have clear communication. It's your value to be a good listener. So when someone dismisses you, you are now tuning into what your greater value set is. So now that you can find a couple of different ways to tune into your core values, the next step is to how to apply this towards creating lasting change. So to be values driven, and let's say what a New Year's resolution is for many people, which is weight loss. So being honest and vulnerable here, I am someone who has struggled with my weight almost my entire life. I used to be much heavier when I was in high school. I lost a bunch of weight in college, lost a little bit more after that, gained a realistic amount back. Okay, so let me put this into practice of what this actually looks like, of how to use your values to help create long-term change. So given that like I said, have struggled with my weight, if I want to practice losing some weight in the upcoming year, and if I go with the mindset of I will have a deficit of food and I will increase my exercise, I am continuing to keep my focus on what's wrong, which is continuing to keep focus on things that I can't have, or I'm telling myself that I can't have, foods that I'm not supposed to be eating. And I'm saying that in air quotes as I say that, but I'm focusing on what's wrong. And it's kind of like having an abundant versus lack mindset. So in giving an example to this, if let's say there is a plate of cookies and I really want the cookies. And if I were to say to myself, well, it's not so bad. I'll just have a couple of cookies and I'll just work out extra hard tomorrow. And then later that day, I end up judging myself and feeling my inner critic begin to take over about the whole thing. I'm not really going to make any forward progress because I'm going to stay stuck in focusing on the choices that I made that continue to make me feel bad about myself. And maybe I will work out extra hard. Maybe I'll avoid the cookies, but I'm not really creating habit change other than how to avoid something. But if my value is I value health, or I value feeling confident in my own skin, then when I look at those cookies and I have the opportunity to make a choice, I can choose what is the action that would keep me in alignment with my values. Therefore, is eating the cookie in alignment with my value of being healthy? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I'm asking myself a different question. The focus of attention is on something bigger than myself, such as my value. So if you want to create some New Year's intentions, do this values exercise first so you can pause in each moment of that crossroads and when you might choose one habit versus another, so you can choose the habit that's in alignment with your values. It'll help you create long-term lasting change in a more effective way. And there's one last thing I want to say about this, and this is a part of the brain called the reticular activation system. And this is the part of our brain that actually helps us out to filter out excess information of what we don't want in our lives to bring into our cognitive, can't even speak, to bring into our cognitive awareness the things that we do want to bring in. So this has been brought to my attention through studies on highly successful people. And what are some common themes that these people do? Well, one of the things that they do is they make a really clear vision of what they want to bring into their lives. So to me, that sounds a lot more like intentions than goals. So things like creating vision boards, writing down with a lot of clarity and discernment what it is that you want to bring into your life. Because without great clarity and vision, it's hard to enact lasting change because your brain, this reticular activation system, actually is there to help you out, to get you in alignment with where you want to be, because it filters out the excess information you don't need and helps you point out the things that you need to know to get you where you want to be. So understanding where am I even working towards, that's not necessarily, a hard and fast goal that, your happiness or your success or belief in yourself is dependent upon that one particular outcome. But I would think more broadly about how would you want to feel in your life? What are the qualities that you want to have be present in both yourself and in your relationships? If you're looking at career stuff, how do you want to feel in your job? What are the values that you want to be able to be in alignment with to know if you're in the right place, making the right choices? So I hope that you found this episode helpful in helping discern the difference between goals and New Year's resolutions and setting intentions, how to have your intentions be something realistic where you can meet yourself where you're at rather than something so lofty you're only going to feel bad about and not follow through with later on, and how the value of tuning into your values can be a mechanism that perhaps you haven't quite tapped into to create long-term lasting change. And that you also are going to have a more possible ability to get to that long-term lasting change when you have a clear sense of how you want to be living your life. So I'm so excited that you are part of my Journey Forward community. I've got a lot of new offerings coming up for you this year to help you continue this journey and have tangible tools to integrate into your daily life to help you in alignment with all these things that we just talked about. I'm going to end with a great post that I recently saw. And, now that it is 2021, we can say with 100% accuracy, hindsight is 2020. I thought that was just great. So check out the show notes. You can download that list of values. You can also get access to my Journey Forward Facebook group where I guide weekly meditations and gain community. And stay tuned. There's also the link in my show notes for my new book that just came out that goes on sale officially January 19th. And it is a year of gratitude. And I'm going to be talking about that in another upcoming podcast episode. And so all those links will be available for you to get a pre-order. And so be sure to check it out because I'm really excited to be able to give you guys so many different tools and resources on how you can journey forward all year long. I hope you had a safe and healthy and connected, even if it was distanced and remote, holiday with those that you love, giving yourself an opportunity to slow down, be still, and be conscious in how you are able to engage in all these wonderful moments in our life. So thanks so much for tuning in today, and take care and be well.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat, visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.